Hello and welcome to part 2 of the alien plant tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created the materials for my plant, which are also completely procedural. So you should have a plant from the previous tutorial, and the first thing you want to do is create a background for rendering. So let's just grab a plane and just change the width and height to 1500 like so, and change the segments to 100 each. Cool. Now we just want to grab a bin deformer and put that under the plane and just change the rotations to -90, and then just change the position to -250, and then we just want to change the strength to 90. Cool. Then let's just grab the plane and then move it back on the x-axis 250 as well. Cool. Now we have a little studio, so let's put that in a group and just call that backdrop, like so. And then we just want to grab a camera, and on the camera let's change the x position to 500, y to maybe 105, and z to 0. And then just change the rotations to 90 and 0. And now on the backdrop, I'm just going to turn the bin deformer off. Cool. Now we just want to change the render settings. So change the renderer to physical and change the resolution to 920 by 1080. You don't need to save anything at the moment. And then change the anti-aliasing to my favorite one, the Mitchell or Michelle, I'm not sure how you say it. And then under options, just turn off the default light. And then under physical, change the sampler to progressive. And under effects, we just want to enable the global illumination. And then just change the samples to low so we get the fastest preview possible. Now we just want to add a light, so let's grab a new material and then let's create a sky object and put the material on the sky, and then just open up that new material and turn off all the channels except for the luminance, and then we want to put a texture in here. So I'm using a material, a texture called Cape Hill, which I found on this website, hdrihaven.com. There's tons of great HDRIs on here. You can pick one, you can use the same as mine, or you can pick a different one for yourself, but feel free to use this website to find an HDRI. Cool, so that's basically our lighting and studio setup all done. So I'm just going to save there so that we don't lose anything. So I'm just going to save a new version, like so. Now what we want to do is we want to start working on the spheres here, and I'm just going to put our picture viewer and just dock it over to the left here, like so, just so that we can see what we're rendering and we can see our scene at the same time. I'm just going to do a quick test render, actually, just to make sure everything's working. Nice. Now let's start working on these spheres. Let's create a new PBR material and just put that on the spheres. And let's just open up our material and just turn off, stop our render so it doesn't make our computer slow. And I'm just going to turn off reflectance for now and work on the luminance channel. So under texture, we want to create a layer. And we want two things. We want a noise, and then we want a Fernal shader. So let's just put that underneath, put the Fernal under the noise, and change the noise blender mode to multiply. And let's just open up our noise. Change the type to Crenal. And then change the contrast to something like 25. And we want to actually reverse the colors. So we want these like middle lines to be white and everything else to be black. So let's just change the top one to white and the bottom one to black. Cool. And then we want to work on the Fresnel. So let's open that up. And on the left here, I'm going to select, I created this little palette to pick colors from. So you can feel free to pick these colors as well. So I'm just going to grab this color for the left and then grab this color for the right, like so. And then I think we just want the edge to look a little bit more bright here. So I'm just going to move this left one over to 25%. Cool. Now if we have a look back at the original render, that's looking pretty close. Let's just enable some reflection now. And I just like to delete the default reflection channels because I don't quite like the default settings. So let's create a Beckham reflection channel. And then under Fresnel, let's just change the type to dielectric and then just change the preset to oil vegetable. Now under roughness, we want to change that to something like 50. And under luminance channel, let's just copy this noise. So copy shader, and then under the texture of the roughness, let's paste that same noise. Cool, so that seems to be working. And under illumination, we want it to shine quite a lot. So let's just change the strength to something like 600 on, and strength and saturation to 600. Cool, so I'm pretty happy with that. Under the spheres, sometimes spheres can mess with your noises sometimes. So I'm just going to turn off the render perfect option on both of these so that it doesn't mess with the scale of our noise. And I'm pretty sure that should look pretty similar to what I've got up here. Let's have a look. Nice, I'm pretty happy with that. Cool. So these little spike ball thingies here, I used a very similar material to what we've got here, except I just disabled the noise pattern because these are already really highly detailed, and by having the noise in there, I think it gets a little bit too confusing to look at. So let's just copy that original material there. And it might help if we rename our shaders so we don't get confused. So let's just call this IDL. And this one, we want to call that main spheres. And then these ones, let's call it spike balls. Cool. Now let's just open that one up. And under the luminance channel, let's just disable that noise. And under the reflectance, I'm just going to keep that roughness texture in here, just so it breaks up the specular a little bit. Cool, now we actually want to apply that to our little spike balls, and I believe that is in here. It should be this one. So let's put the spike ball texture on there. And then give that a render. So the low GI samples is a bit hard to look at the moment, so I'm just going to increase that to medium, just so that we can get rid of these splodgy points everywhere. And with our sky, yeah, so the sun is behind our backdrop, so let's just rotate around maybe 185 degrees, just so that it's on the other side, and we've got a nice sun on the right side of our plant. And before we do another test render, let's create a new PBR material and put that on our backdrop. And just change the color to like on the default diffuse layer, change the color to like a soft orangey color, maybe 27, 22, 95. Yeah, so nice soft orangey color. And under the reflection channel, we just want to increase the roughness a bit and change the specular strength, maybe 20. Cool. Now let's give that a test render. So our background is looking a little bit strange. I'm not quite convinced on the color. So if we go into our IBL and under the luminance channel, under texture, let's create a new layer. And then under effects, let's change the hue saturation. Maybe we could move it over to the left a little bit, so there's a little more teal in there, and just decrease the saturation like so, and give that another render. Nice. Now that our background is looking a little bit better, now we can start working on the stems. So let's create a new material and just rename that to stems. And also let's rename our backdrop material to backdrop, like so. Now we just want to put our stems material onto the sweep here, which is above the, or next to the spike balls. And then just put it on the main stems group here. Nice. And remember to save. So let's open up our stems material. And under the luminance channel, we just want to enable that. And under texture, we just want to grab the subsurface scattering effect. You can't make a plant without that. So let's change the path length to 1 centimeter, and let's change the color to this dark green here. Cool. And then let's just change on the multiple tab, let's just enable fast evaluation, so it just speeds up our renders a bit. And under default reflection, actually let's start with the diffuse first. Under color, we just want to grab a noise. And this is how we're going to get the lines through the green part of our plant, so what you can see here. Cool. So under color 2, we want to grab this nice green color here. And then we want to change the global scale to something like 50. And the relative scale on a second axis, let's change that to about 3000. And then just change the contrast to maybe 15. And the texture space, I think UV 2D will work best. Yeah, so that we just get these nice lines. Cool, now that works. And let's just copy our noise because we're going to be using that quite a bit. And under default reflection, let's just change the color to completely white on the layer color. And under roughness, let's change that to 50. And the specular strength, change that to 20. And just expand the roughness here and paste the noise. Now we don't need the green, so let's just change that back to white, like so. Cool. Now let's just grab that noise now, copy that one because it's black and white, and then under the normal channel we just want to enable that, and then under effects we just want to grab a normalizer. So this way we can turn our noise into a normal map. So let's just paste shader there and increase the strength way up to 500. Yeah, that works pretty good, and maybe increase the strength out to 200. Yeah, kind of like the look of that. That looks pretty good. But under default reflection, I think I'd like to change the for now type to oil vegetable. It's kind of my favorite one to use. Nice. Now let's give that a render. Awesome, I'm pretty happy with that. So that concludes the end of the alien plant tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed this and that you've learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. Obviously with my original version, I had some extra geometry down here, and I also put it in After Effects just to do some simple color correction and added depth of field and stuff like that. So if you end up creating something of your own, feel free to link me if you end up posting something on social media. I'd love to see it. That would be awesome. And if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, so I hope you've had a good time, and yeah, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.